When you think of the best sports anime, what comes to mind? I'm sure you probably think of amazing story-driven shows based around a purpose, like Megaloboxing for example, or even the ambitious story known as Haikyuu, which is about a kid with a dream of becoming the best at his sport, while dealing with his physical attributes out of his control. And on the topic of Haikyuu, it is probably one of the most, if not the most popular anime right now during the fall 2020 season. People have been looking forward to it for months. Well, what if I told you there was another sport anime that, in my opinion, deserves a shot at not being as good as Haikyuu, but at least deserves some praise. And unfortunately, it seems like it's been written off in the Death Note and no one really cares about it. Let me introduce you to Iwa Kakeru Sports Climbing Girls. When first seeing the trailer for this show, I told my good friend Naz this show is going to be horrible and full of fan service. Well, I can say after putting on my wannabe weeb cringe degenerate pants that I currently don't own, and sitting down and watching the first 7 episodes, I can confirm I was about 95% wrong. I'm not gonna pretend like the fan service isn't there, but I mean, it isn't that much at least.
ImHitch.
I will represent all men in the chat, and I will not look at a single boob, and I will not look at a single butt in this video. Let's go!
But, in my opinion, I feel that the good outweighs the many scenes I wouldn't want my brother walking in and seeing me watch. To start off, Iwa Kakeru is based around a group of girls that are on a sports climbing team with different goals and reasons why they climb. Like any sports anime, it follows the typical ritual of having a high school tournament to show off some of the different characters in the show's world while giving us some deep character development. The main character is a former gamer that transcended society and gamed so hard she couldn't keep up with her grades. So what does she do? Joins a sport climbing club to use her Candy Crush skills to win the sports climbing championship. Yeah, that's pretty much the synopsis of the show. She even unlocks her own climbing style where she pretends to walk walls or Candy Crush levels like I said before. Honestly, this in itself should give you an idea of how interesting this show truly gets. In today's video, I want to express to you guys why Iwa Kakeru deserves some praise and honestly why you should watch it after you finish this video. The appeal of Iwa Kakeru is quite simple. I mean, obviously the waifus. You have a bunch of girls with different personalities, but to me, that doesn't mean that much. Let me explain. There is so much in this show that sticks out immediately when you first start to watch it. For example, there's this weird power system they use in the show. Each character has their own type of, let's call them stands, or creatures, or something that represents them as a climber. Since we're talking about anime, let's stick to stands. For example, there was a girl named Iwamin. Excuse me if I'm butchering that. I'm going to let you think for a few seconds right now as I put the image or video on the screen. What type of stand does she have? You might have assumed bunny ears due to the fact that she has bunny ears on her head, but it's actually quite interesting that you think that, because her character acts completely different from her bunny-like persona. In the show, she pretends to be the sweet, sly talking girl, but in reality, she is a fierce competitor that will try her hardest and will destroy anyone that gets in her way. In the show, her climbing style is based around a spider, which represents her true personality. She's a genius at her craft and can maneuver smoothly as possible through any puzzle, kind of like a spider creating a web to trap their prey. The show even goes as far to state that she has a tight grip when it comes to climbing and has the ability to be as delicate and smooth as a spider, like I said when they're making their web. She even has a smile from that spider from Miss Spider's Sunny Patch Friends. If I just unlocked a bunch of nostalgia in your brain, hit that like button for me. The reason I think the style of the power system is so intriguing is because it's different from other sports animes. Take for example one of my favorite sports anime, anime.Yes. Certain characters don't have animalistic personas like creatures behind them, but they represent their own style in a different way. They have this more realistic, overdrawn type of style and techniques. Take Wright for example. He's a character that is known as this huge slugger that has this big power, this big bat, and it's called like the money bat or something, and you could literally feel the weight of his hit when he hits the ball. And I think that is interesting because that's something specific to anime.Yes, but whereas Iwa Kakeru stands out because it messes the JoJo stand-like style with a sports theme anime. At the moment, I can't think of any sports anime that goes to this much of an extreme to show off the type of style in a show. If you know of any, please post them in the comments below. I'd love to check them out. Another thing that I think this story gets right is that it makes sure that you know this is truly a sports anime. What I mean by this is that something that is presented here a lot is the mindset of a newer athlete. Let me give you some personal backstory on why this means a lot. During high school, I competed in my first ever track meet. Now I'm sure if there are any athletes out there watching this, they can definitely recall their first ever game or meet. If you are not an athlete, let me explain how it goes. When you first get to the venue or field, you start to gain this fear of not being good enough, or am I really prepared for today? And sometimes you get those nerves, and they really get to you, and maybe you didn't perform as well as you liked at the end of the day. The reason this matters is because when we're watching Iwa Kakeru, the same exact situation happens. Our main character doesn't trust herself and believes she isn't good enough to even outperform some people that have already competed prior to her. This leads to our main character getting a pep talk from her tsundere best friend on learning to trust yourself and expect great results. This led to the overall message sent through the first 7 episodes. The show is based around honing your craft and becoming better than the expectations on learning to trust yourself and your ability to perform as an athlete. The show really resonates with me because as an ex-athlete, I could understand her mentality. I wasn't the best at throwing shot put at my days during track, but after constant training and reassurance from my team, I was able to pull through at the end in our championship like neat. It's kind of like how our main character pulls through at her first event and wins a race for her team, which adds to the overall points for their meet. Overall, I think the show represents the mindset of a true athlete very well. To conclude, you can learn a lot from the show. It goes over very in-depth sports climbing techniques and ways to train. By all means, I am no way a climber myself, but I learned a lot from all the episodes I've watched. In the show, they teach you these techniques by bringing them up to solve problems that arise. Yes, usually it's used for plot points, but I have no clue what an Egyptian was until I started learning about the wall climbing terminology when I started watching this anime. As I was watching, even the idea of sports climbing started to sound pretty cool and interesting. I even went as far as to watch some professionals climb. I mean, look, these motherfuckers look like they've evolved into their primate form. Like, look how fast these people are. They could probably even be the next speedster villain on The Flash, because we all know that never gets old. Honestly, there is a serious sport out there, and it shocks me how talented people truly are when they climb. I hope that the fan base of anime watchers that climb enjoy the show, and I hope it truly represents the sport. I cannot finish this video without talking about the music as well. To start off, the music is amazing. I don't know what they use. I mean, I used to do band in high school and middle school, but I barely remember what the instruments are called. But they have this type of orchestra feel, kind of like My Hero Academia. With the Yusei Run OST, it definitely has some brass instruments into it, but always comes in at the best times. I think that the music in the show is really good, and honestly makes for some of the best moments in the show. It's very impactful and it leaves a lasting impression on me. The music was just great, and honestly, it was a joy to listen to. Even the opening was pretty good as well. There's no really complaints here from me. Honestly, if I haven't given you enough reasons to watch this anime, then I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I challenge you to watch at least 1 episode and get back to me on how you feel. If you don't enjoy it, fine, but seriously, you need to watch the show if you're a fan of sports anime.